So my resultant vector was 266.8 comma negative 607.44. That's my result, and that's how the plane is actually going. So if I want to find the magnitude and the direction, we're going to have to figure out where these are. This is positive comma negative, which means I'm going down in this quadrant, positive comma negative. So this is really 266.8. Think of this as negative 607.44. So if I want to find the magnitude of the resultant, I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. So my magnitude is square root of my x squared plus my y squared. And when you do that and stick it in the calculator, you're going to get that it's actually going 663.45 miles per hour. And so since it was originally going 650, that is actually going to make it speed up. That is my actual ground speed. So fill that out on your notes. And then if I want to get the direction that I'm going, since this is a heading or a bearing problem, I need to figure out basically what this angle right here is. So in order to figure out this angle from north around to that vector, I need to figure out what this little angle in here is. So we're going to call this x. So I need to figure out what this angle is. So for x, my opposite over my adjacent is tangent. So my tangent is my opposite, oops, my iPad fell, over my adjacent. And again, when you do second tan in the calculator, you're going to get that little angle in there is 66.3 degrees. However, you need to add another 90 to it to get a problem that has a heading of 156.3 degrees of a heading. Okay, 10. An object is being pulled by two forces. A pulls on the object with a force of 40 newtons at 30 degrees. So let's draw a picture for A. And if I don't tell you heading or bearing, if these are force problems, they're just going to be a regular direction. So at 40 degrees, 40 newtons, at 30 degrees, that's probably going to be about here, 30 degrees. This angle in here, 40 newtons. And so my vector for A is 40 newtons cosine 30, 40 sine 30. And then for vector B, I want to go in a force of 60 newtons. Really, you're putting them on the same one, force of at 215, which would be in this direction. So you're basically pulling the object in two directions. But it's easier to draw it on two separate pictures because you're going to have a lot of numbers and math. So usually have you draw them in two pictures. So this is 215 here. So my vector B would be 60 cosine 215, 60 sine 215. My resultant I get by adding 40 cosine 30 plus 60 cosine 215. If I add those two together, my resultant is going to be negative 14.51. If I add my 40 sine 30, oh wait, that is a bad 30, and 60 sine 215, that's a kind of ugly zero, but I'm going to get negative, 14.41. So for my resultant, that's a negative comma a negative. So you'll see that if you're pulling in two directions, the direction that it's going to go is going to be this way. Negative 14.51, negative 14.41. And so my magnitude, or my resultant force, is square root of negative 14.41 squared plus 14.51 squared. And when I do that, I should get 20.45. And then my direction, again, I need to know what this angle is, so I've got to figure out what x is and then add 180. So my tangent is my opposite over my adjacent, which means x is going to come out to about, hold on, I didn't write it down on my paper, so let me try it on my calculator. Second tan, 14.41 divided by 14.51, oops, comes out to about 44.8 degrees. When you add 180 to that, you're going to get that this direction's about 24.8 degrees for the direction. Okay, 11. In an orienteering competition, Jade walks north 70 degrees west for 200 meters. Then she walks due east for 90 meters. How far and what bearing is Jada from her starting point? So for the first leg, she's going north 70 degrees west, which means you start out north and veer off 70 degrees in the west direction. So this angle in here is 70 degrees. So mathematically, what will go in your equation is 90 plus 70, which gives you 160. So she walks for 200 meters, so that's 200 cosine 160, 200 sine, 160. And then, let me see if I can move that part over a little bit. Okay. Then for the second leg of her trip, let me erase this. For the second leg of her trip, she goes due east for 90 meters. So basically you would be adding them to the end of this. But unless you graph correctly, you're going to have a hard time sometimes knowing where your resultant would be. So if she goes due east, that basically is 0 degrees. And she's going 90 meters. So I'm going to rewrite over this. So this is 90 cosine 0, 90 sine 0. When you add the two together, let me change colors, you're going to get a resultant of, is it 200 meters? Okay, of, negative 97.94, 68.40. When you add together your x parts and your y parts, and then your magnitude is negative 97.94 squared plus your 68.40 squared, which gives you 119.46. And then my bearing, let's do another color. Since I'm going negative, comma, positive, that means I would be in this quadrant. And so that would be negative 97.94 up 68.40. If this is a north, south, east, west, do the same thing. So I really need to figure out what this angle is in here so that I can do north veering off into the west. So before I find that, I'm going to find this one down here. So my tangent of y is my opposite over my adjacent, 97.94. That's going to give me, let's see, let's put it in the calculator. Second tan, 68.40 divided by 97.94. I'm not going to worry about the negative because all I'm looking for is the angle in there. This angle in here is 34.93 degrees, which means my x, 90 minus 34.93 degrees, is this angle in here is 55.07, so it's north 55.07 degrees in the west direction. And whatever I give you your original problem in, heading, bearing, whatever, you need to do your answer in the same format. Okay, 12. Two tractors are removing a stump as shown. One tractor pulls at a force of 2,000 newtons. The other tractor pulls with a force of 1,500 newtons. The angle between the two tractors is 40 degrees. So for the first one, we're going to do this one. Okay, my vector is going to be 2,000 cosine 20 degrees, 2,000 sine of 20 degrees. For the second one that's down here, that's everything but 20 degrees. That's 340 degrees. So you're doing 1,500 cosine 340, 1,500 sine 340. And when you add those together, your x's and your y's, you're going to get your resultant vector is 3288.92, comma 171.01. And then my magnitude of my resultant is going to be square root of 3288.92 squared plus 171.01 squared. And when you do that, you're going to get 3,293.36. So you're just doing Pythagorean theorem. You pretty much are doing the same thing over and over and over. Since this is a positive, comma, a positive, let's find one more color. That means I'm going to be over here. And that's 3288.92, 171.01. And so my tangent of x is 171.01 over 3288.92. And when I do second tangent in the calculator, I'm going to get that that's 2.98 degrees.